Well, I'm trying to start this again. I started. I did one at 7, but I wasn't feeling it as I was doing it. So I'm just deciding to do this one more time. We'll see what we get. So this is Tao of the Day. I'm your host, Martin John, and I want you to join me and pick a number between 1 and 81. Uh, what I want to do is help you read your Tao for the day. Today, the Tao Te Ching, well, not today, every day, the Tao Te Ching is translates to the Canon of Reason, and it is it is a text that was written 600 BC, and it was by Lao Tzu. And it is a beautiful text that helps us live a more reasonable live a life in balance and in harmony with nature and the things around us. So if you have a number between 1 and 81, join me and I'll read it with you, and then we'll go through it line by line and see how it resonates with you as your day and right now in your life. I picked 71 for my Tao today, and I'm going to go ahead and read that through, and then we'll go through it line by line and see what it has for me. 71 says, "Not knowing is true knowledge. Presuming to know is a disease." Oop. D. Grant is going to join us. We'll come back to 71 in a minute. Let's see what D. Grant has.
Dude, why did you
Hey.
stop, man?
Well, why did I stop? Well, because you're joining me, and I know that you're going to probably have a number to share. I can complete reading this, and I'll do that later. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How are you doing?
I'm well. How should I address you, as D or Grant or D Grant, or how?
D or D Grant is just fine.
D is great. So D, so this is Tao of the Day. I know we haven't talked before, so
I've been listening
like,
to your Tao of the Day for a little while, man.
oh well, wonderful. Well,
And
thank you for that.
our mutual friend Catherine really suggested that I get connected with you in some way.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, Catherine's wonderful. She joins me. I think I don't know where she is in the States, but I know when I do my DAOs a little later, she is on it, and we always share a DAO. But
I think
8 a.m.
yeah, I think she's in Tennessee.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe she's just not online. Maybe she's still doing her morning routine or whatnot at this point. So,
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. She is in Tennessee. We had talked about that. So D, do you have a number between 1 and 81 for me?
I do. But before I do that, I wanted to say that what you were saying about 71, um, yeah, man, that was something I was thinking about last night driving home, about how freeing it is. Like, I think just the phrase "I don't know" is such a freeing, like, peaceful sentence to tell yourself, because it sets you apart from like all of the know-it-all tendencies that we tend to try to have as people, especially in this age where like information is everywhere and we're trying to quote unquote figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
just releasing that and saying, you know what, I don't know. Such a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it is true. Like, as soon as we know something, the ability for that thing to change just opens up, right? Like, and to think that anything that we know is factual. I mean, there's math, but math deals with a lot of things that we perceive as well.
Yeah,
And math doesn't necessarily work the same in the quantum realm as it does in the
exactly.
realm that we experience. And so math isn't even truth at that level.
Yeah, exactly. And like, there's also that part of our, I guess, part of our brains that once we think we know all of it, instead of realizing that there's still a whole lot more to explore and discover.
And that this is poignant for me, because this is, like, when we deal with other people, like coming to, a new relationship, or coming to a new place where we meet new people, like you and I. It's important to be in a space of not knowing. And by me coming to a space of not knowing, I can be like, well, how can I address you, if that is even a question that should be asked, or whatever. And then it's like, okay, well, now I have something, and I can hold on to it until I'm corrected.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you asking that question. A lot of people don't do that, and then I just like they'll be like, "Hey, Grant, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, why don't you call me D?"
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah. So, no problem. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. So what's your number for today?
Well, I was born in 1981, and I turned 40 in a little less than 2 weeks. So I'm curious what 81 is.
81. It's a beautiful one. So and I think this is going to relate to what you were dealing with yesterday as well. True words aren't eloquent, and eloquent words aren't true. Wise men don't need to prove their point, and men who need to prove their point aren't wise. The master has no possessions. The more he does for others, the happier he is. The more he gives to others, the wealthier he is. The Tao nourishes by not forcing, by not dominating. The master leads.
Hmm. Yeah, man. That hits all the right notes, man, in perfect harmony.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, so let's go back to the beginning and see what we got to work with here. True words aren't eloquent.
Oh. Well, I mean, I do a lot of writing, and I write a lot of I write a whole lot about love. That's everything that I'm about. But I tend to be very careful about the way that I say some things because I want the point to be clearly understood. And I do see that sometimes I'm attempting to be eloquent to really convey a point when being more direct could be a better way to serve. So that's one right off the top of my head that really speaks to me.
Yeah, I always look at this as like like I want to be honest, right? And I want to just say what is needing to be said. And if I start to muss up and try to figure out the right words
Mm,
because I'm thinking about the audience too much, then I get caught up in this idea of trying to know what the audience is thinking
mm,
before they've even read it.
yeah,
And the
that's a good
thing
point.
is like what we read in 71, just the fact that I got through that first line, like those, like knowing is a disease, right? Like just let yourself speak because you are being guided by the Tao, not your ego. I like leaving pauses. You did mute yourself. I don't know if you were aware of that. You might be on a call. So I'm going to go ahead and read the next line, which is wise men don't need to prove their point. Men who need to prove their point aren't wise. That I really love that because there are times when I need to prove my point, and those are times I fuck it up. And it is clear that I fuck it up. So yeah, I know that I don't need to prove my point, and I have been working on things over the last couple of days so that I can continue to live in a space where I don't need to prove my point, where I can just be present and accept things as they are. It's not always easy to do that, but it is something that I need to be able to work on, and I need to be able to embrace. Um, so I don't know. Okay, so I think we lost D. If he is still on and listening, he can come on when he is ready. But I'm going to finish reading through this and then we'll go back to 71. Um, the master has no possessions. The more he does for others, the happier he is. And I think maybe I have, leaned on this a little too much. I also want to. Well, no, that's not true. I do want to do for others, but doing for others sometimes also means receiving what they're doing for you, allowing them the space to do for you. The more he gives to others, the wealthier he is. And that's a really important aspect. Like, we have to be able to give to others. And that doesn't necessarily mean money. It doesn't mean even have to mean time. You can give attention, and you can just look someone in the eye. One of the things I talked about in one of my earliest talks about harm reduction is look a motherfucker in the eye. Like, if they're homeless, see them. And that's okay. It's beautiful. The Tao nourishes by not forcing, by not demanding, by not dominating. The master leads. So the Tao nourishes by not forcing itself on you. It just is present. And by not dominating, you will always come back to it. You'll always come around to it. Here, Dee's back with us, so maybe we can head back and see what he has to say on some of these things.
Hey, sorry, man. I don't know what happened, but it wouldn't let me talk, and then it wouldn't let you talk.
Oh,
And
I don't
so
know what. Yeah, I
I
was
don't
I was
know.
talking the whole time, so I don't know what happened. And like, I know yours went on mute, and then it
Yeah,
booted you out, or you probably pulled out of that or whatever. So
yeah.
either way,
I
um,
fun times with that. Like
yeah, yeah, no
I don't
big
know
deal.
how the app works. Sometimes I don't know why it gets sometimes glitchy or seems to, and
Yeah,
I don't know what happened just there. But I'm glad that we're able to put the pieces together.
yeah, absolutely. So the next line after the eloquent words aren't true is wise men don't need to prove their point, and men who need to prove their point aren't wise.
Yeah, yeah,
We see that around us all the time, don't we? Like, people who have a point to prove, they
yeah.
roll up their sleeve, they pump their fist, and they're like, you have to hear me. And it's like, when you can step up to your place, when you can step up into your, and once again, like, this idea of truth and honesty, when you can step into your truth and just present it. You don't have to be eloquent. It doesn't have to look a certain way. And just because it's your truth, that means you're acting from a place of being wise. And if we go back to this idea of, like, knowing, which we mentioned
Exactly.
earlier,
Yeah,
if you step into this space of not needing to prove your point, if you step into the space of necessarily understanding that you don't know everything, then you still don't need to prove your point, and you can change your point. You can change your mind. But if you need to prove your point, then you shut yourself off to learning, and you think you
exactly.
know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think like one of the things that also taps into this stuff is like flowing from a place of love. You're going to speak from a place of kindness and a place of gentleness, and you're going to be honest and you're going to be direct. And I think one of the things that like gets in the way, and you mentioned this a minute ago about like not operating out of ego, like when you like you just said, when you've got something that you feel like you have to prove or some point that you feel like you have to make and establish yourself as some sort of expert or whatever, like that changes the flow of the communication. It changes the energy of what's actually being done, and it's not the same thing as just speaking your truth like you were just talking about.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, your truth doesn't have to be someone else's. So why would there ever be a need to prove your point?
Yeah, there's nothing to prove at all.
Right. It's yours, and that's
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And that's so. And when we can communicate from that place, then we can be yielding and firm in our idea, but yielding to other people's experience.
Yeah, I think it also opens up the channels of communication with people because it creates a more receptive environment.
Right.
Uh, and in that place, then it becomes an opportunity for growth and learning and everything for everybody involved. And I've been I'm gonna say I've been learning about all of the stuff that we usually talk about when we're talking about energy. I didn't understand what that word meant for a while because I was
Mm-hmm.
like, when I thought of energy, I thought of like natural energy, like
Right.
water and sunlight and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, what do you mean by the energy of the room when I show up in this certain way. But it totally makes sense. It's like the, it's the attitude or the vibe or the feeling that is coming through in these different interactions and stuff. And there is a energy, atmosphere, attitude, whatever you want to call it, that comes from people that are sincerely interested in connecting and sincerely interested in learning and seriously interested in expanding versus somebody that seems to have kind of a bone to pick with the world and some, like you were saying, some sort of point to prove.
Yeah.
And it creates almost like it no, not almost, it totally creates this kind of resistance to, like, I don't know if I really want to hear what this person has to say, and I don't really know if I want to engage with them in some way, because I don't know if I can actually get close. I don't know if I can actually, like, um, build some sort of harmonious exchange here. And that's not always something that we are consciously aware of. It's just something that's going on inside of us. And that going back into everything you've been like digging into from number 81 of the Tao, like the wise don't have to prove themselves to be wise. They just speak, and wisdom is what comes out.
Right. When you want to prove your point and you go out, like, as soon as someone gets wind of the idea that you want to prove your point, like, why would anyone stay open?
Mm,
Right? Like, you immediately just put off this energy of, like, I'm going to change your mind. And and
mm,
and that will immediately just turn people off, because they're like, wait, but my thoughts are valid as well. And that's why not knowing, that's why walking into this and being honest and just presenting your experience, you know, and if you can present it, no matter how ugly it's presented, if it's true for you, then it's going to at least alter the energy that other people receive it with. I can't say what those words will be, but as soon as we stop and pause and edit and do all of these different things to get you to feel something, then then I'm utilizing those things to manipulate you
yeah.
into hearing something that maybe isn't true.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of what you're also talking about here is the element of control.
Yep.
And when we try to be in control of situations or of people or of circumstances or of really anything, that really kind of taps into that whole knowing versus not knowing energy. And when you're open to receiving, and when you're open to giving, and just when you're open in general, and you're not trying to force anything into existence, but you're just in a state of allowing, then that really opens up all kinds of channels for things to happen.
Yeah.
And I
So
think
you
it
know,
also,
oh, go on.
well, one of the things I've been learning and growing in and experiencing here, especially on this app, is that, like, the stories that people share, the stories that all of us share about our own experiences and everything, like, it can, when we allow, like, just like what you were saying about standing in your personal truth and speaking honestly from your heart and from your soul, uh just sharing your story can come through to people in ways that speak of inspiration and wisdom and love and understanding and grace, and people start to understand themselves more. And that's really just a matter of, like, opening up and just the way you were talking about a second ago, just sharing and being vulnerable at times and being direct and being just being a conduit. And all of that stuff is removing your ego from the equation and allowing yourself to be free and allowing yourself to learn and grow, and also allowing yourself to be expressed.
Yes. And I like how you put that. It's the idea of to be expressed. And that's like to be expressed by the Tao, to be expressed by that which we are tapped into and connected to, this energy be and remember, we're in relation. So what I say and you hear don't necessarily have anything to do with one another. So I need to speak my truth, and you need to be within yours in order to receive what you need to receive. When I try and dictate what you're going to experience, then I am trying to manipulate the situation, probably to my benefit and probably to prove a point.
Yeah, exactly.
So the master has no possessions. The more he does for others, the happier he is. And I like to step in and just say really quickly, the more he does for others doesn't necessarily mean that he or she or whatever is moving into the space like actively doing. They may just be present, and like just
Yeah,
being here doing what I do gives you a platform to come and speak. And so when what I do naturally helps others, it fulfills me.
yeah. Same here, man. Same here.
And the more he gives to others, the wealthier he is. And I think that that is the same. And, like wealth here, of course, is not necessarily a financial thing, but just like in terms of resources, like energy resources, maybe even like
Yeah,
the more energy that I'm able to give and expend in order to aid others, the more I have access to if I am open to receiving that. And I think that's something that I have been working on this week, is the space of like, am I resistant to receiving a lot of energy, even though I give so much? And that's something that I'm
mm,
working for myself, because I think resistance is something that is very, very much a part of my day to day. And that's something that I'm, actively working on trying. Well, actively, I'm working on trying to just be aware of, so I can
yeah.
let it dissipate.
Well, I appreciate your vulnerability there, man, because that's a big deal. Like, and I think resistance is something that all of us face and all of us deal with in some form or fashion. We're just not always aware that that's what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
awareness by itself is
Go on.
I just the awareness of like what you just said. Like you said uh, you are becoming more aware of some of the resistance that you have experienced, and you're working through that, and you're addressing it in a conscious way, and that by itself is a very big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And this next line, these last two lines of this 81 say, the Tao nourishes by not forcing, by not dominating, the master leads. And I think
Mm,
that relates so much to this idea of, like the resistance that I'm looking at in my life and trying to become aware of. I don't want to force myself to receive. I want to not try and dominate that and try and look at the resistance and allow it to subside, rather than, because there isn't like if we talk about love, right? You were talking about love, like there is love all around us all the time. The
yeah,
idea of receiving love is kind of ridiculous, because that's an active thing. But the only reason we're not receiving love is because we're actively resisting. And so by not forcing, by not dominating that, the master leads, we can allow ourselves to be present with that love if we can stop actively resisting, because that love is all around us at every moment.
yeah. So there's one of my favorite teachers, and he's become a friend of mine over the years. You probably heard of him, Seth Godin.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so I read his emails just about every day. What he said a couple of days ago, he talked about how tugboats don't actually tug; they pull. And when you're trying to push against large objects or against crowds to try to get them to move in a direction, you're going to be working in vain. But instead, when you get out in front and you lead uh, by going in your own direction, you end up either energetically pulling or just inspiring people to follow you. And I think that that ties in so much with what you were just reading about the last two lines of number 81.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I'm a big fan of Seth. Like if you look at my Instagram, I quote him quite a bit. So Yeah, no, I hear that. I didn't read that email. I usually do, and so it's surprising that I don't know that. But either way, that's beautiful, and I'm really happy that you brought it up. Um, yeah, this like being in the space of not forcing, and I think that goes back to this first line. And I know we only got like 30 more seconds, but like true words aren't eloquent. Eloquent words aren't true. Eloquent words can be something we force.
Hmm.
And the Tao nourishes by not forcing. And so by not dominating, by not trying to persuade people, by not trying to prove our point, we can get out in front and we can lead. And people will not necessarily follow us, but they'll follow themselves because that's what we're doing.
Yeah, man. Well, Martin John, I appreciate you so much, man. It's been so wonderful to talk with you, and thank you for doing this every single day. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Dee. I really appreciate connecting with you. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a quick follow, and then we'll be connected. And I look forward to chatting with you again. So that was 81. Dee joined me and picked 81. Do you have a number between 1 and 81 that you would like us to go over? I picked 71 today, and I'm gonna go back to that while you guys mull over a number for yourselves. And once you have one, you just come on and then we'll talk about your Tao for the day. Not knowing is true knowledge. Presuming to know is a disease. First, realize that you are sick. Then you can move towards health. Now I'm getting emotional already, and I'll tell you why in a moment. The master is her own physician. She has healed herself of all knowing. Thus, she is truly whole. So here, not knowing is true knowledge, presuming to know is a disease. And I think I got stuck in presuming to know once again in my life. Once you realize that you are sick, you can move towards health. Like that's the big point. Once you realize that you are ill with knowledge, when you believe something that's not true, and I believe possibly that I'm not worthy. And when I believe I'm not worthy, I do things because I believe that for other people as well. And that's when I was talking to Dee earlier, talking about like, I resist love. I resist feeling these. I resist believing that I have value, that I am worthy. And that's a sickness. That's illness, right? But now that I've realized it just literally on Monday. So now that I realize this, I can move towards health. And that's what I've been doing ever since. And it's so beautiful that this Tao is here for me today, because I can move towards being a healthier person, and I can move towards having healthier relationships. I can move towards having healthier relationship with myself, because what I learned is that I actively resist my own love for myself. And so now that I've realized that, I can take steps towards being healthy. And that's what everyone has been saying to me. And so I'm really grateful for that. The master is her own physician. And this is where, what we think and how we eat and how we live and who we are, like brings us to a place of health. She has healed herself of all knowing. Thus, she is truly whole. When you don't know who you are when you wake up in the morning and have to reinvent that and reinventing that means moving towards health, right? You're going to reinvent who you are today from who you were yesterday so that you can move towards health. There's no other reason to reinvent yourself. You're not going to move yourself towards sickness. You're going to move yourself towards health. And that's the beauty of being who you are and being able to shift every day. Being able to be where you are and be who you are and be whole. You have to be your own physician, and that starts in your mind, right? In your attitude and how you grow and how you live and how you like see your knowledge. Not knowing is true knowledge. Presuming to know is a disease. As soon as you think you know something, you need to be able to realize that you're sick. I talk to people in my workshops all the time, and I say, how many of you chose to drink coffee today? And then I ask, how many of you actually made the choice to drink coffee today versus just executed a decision you made a long time ago? Most people are just executing decisions they've made a long time ago. And because of that, they're not present right? They're not present within themselves. They are yesterday. They are living their lives as they did yesterday. And that's why this second part of this 71 says, the master is her own physician. She has healed herself of all knowing. I don't know today if I am a coffee drinker. So I will ask myself, do I want coffee? And because of that, she can wake up today and be someone different. And then she can say, do I want to journal? Do I want to exercise? Do I want to go to my job? Do I want to grow? And how do I want to do that? Can I be present with who I am today without the preconceived ideas of who I have been? Because if you know who you are, well, then you're closed off to a large part of yourself. Because all you can know is who you were. Who you are is changing all the time. And that's your work. And that's your life. And that is why you are your own physician. You're your own doctor. You're the person who is guiding you to who you are tomorrow. You have to first realize that you're sick, and then you can move towards health. That is the point. If you know who you are, that is an illness. It's a disease. Realize you're sick and move towards health. Move towards not knowing who you are, because who you are is changing every moment. Who I am after talking to Dee about 81 today is different than who I was when I woke up this morning. And if I don't recognize that, there has been a shift, then I am going to be judging myself today as I was yesterday, and from a point I was yesterday. I was telling someone a long time ago that doing this work is not easy, and you can't really quantify or qualify it. You just have to accept it, because the judgments, like you can quantify it in some degree by saying, oh, well, this is the job I have today. This is the happiness level I have today. This is the level of things I have today. But the person who judges that today is not going to be the person who judges it tomorrow. And so you want some sort of a stasis. You want an external source. You want a point in space to be able to judge your growth, but that doesn't exist. There is no point in space that does not move. And so however you are judging yourself and however you're judging your life today, it's going to change. And so we have to understand that we don't know how to judge it, but where we are today is different than where we were yesterday. And so we have to be able to be present with this moment right now and figure out what's best for us. If that means we need to lay in bed and cry all day, that's okay. That doesn't mean that we look back and say, well, we're somewhere else. No, we are moving forward. We are always moving forward. We're always moving into our true whole self. And we just have to have faith that whatever I'm doing right now is the right thing to be doing right now. Okay, if anybody wants to come on and give me a number between 1 and 81, I would love to share your Tao for the day. Otherwise, I'll be signing off. I'll give you another couple seconds. I'm Martin John. This is the Tao of the Day, which is a Recover Yourself production. I host the Recover Yourself podcast. If you benefit from what I do, you can. I take financial donations through Venmo at @MartinJohn_Garcia. And would love to receive anything you would like to give. I am working on receiving and not actively resisting, so please send me money. I laugh at that, and because it does feel uncomfortable to say that, but I want to, because I need some motherfucking money, of course. So if you have any laying around and you benefit from what I'm talking about, send it over through martinjohn.com. Or no, yeah, you can send it there too, but martinjohn_Garcia at Venmo. I appreciate each and every one of you for listening to the Tao of the Day and engaging. I hope it's beneficial for you. I know I have I have guests regularly, and so I appreciate that. He told me that he's been listening, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate his coming on. Long time listener, first time caller. Love saying that. Once again, I'm Martin John. This is a Recover Yourself production. Until next time, keep recovering yourself.